Hello, you beautiful people. My name is Dowdy. Today we're talking about the pros and cons of being a sponsored skater. Hopefully you don't hate me because of the title of this video. You're gonna have to hear me out. Now, in theory, being a sponsored skater sounds really dope, and it is really dope, but there are some pros and cons to it. So that's what we're gonna dive into in today's video. We're at City Heights Skate Park here in San Diego. I'm actually meeting up with Sean Enooks. He has a really rad YouTube channel as well, so we get some of his thoughts from a foreigner who is now here in California.
So promising.
Now, I definitely don't want to sound like super privileged or anything like that, because I think getting free product is super dope. The point of this video though is to address the responsibility that comes with that free product and being sponsored. It sounds really good in theory, and I used to be a team manager, and when I was really young I used to be a sponsored skater, so I feel like I can float a little bit in between the two and just point out some things that I think maybe sometimes not everybody considers. I got my first sponsor, or not really sponsor, but a shop sponsor when I was around like 14 years old, and that was the coolest thing in the world. When you're young, being sponsored as a skateboarder is like kind of your dreams and wishes coming true. And then as you age, things do change up a little bit. We're done skating the skate park. We don't want to get stuck at the skate park too long. Sean's down here. I want to show him some DIY spots, so we're gonna go hit up a couple spots. If you're gonna ask any of those kids that were inside that skate park if they want to be sponsored, and I was gonna tell them no, or like I wouldn't be sponsored, I'd choose not to, they think that's crazy. But that's the thing, like when you're young, getting sponsored for skateboarding is like the dream come true. It's all your wishes coming to fruition. It's like the best thing in the world. What better thing? You get to do something that you love and you get free product for doing what you love. Like, that is awesome. Left City Heights Skate Park. We are at a DIY skate spot. I'm gonna check up on it. I haven't been here in a while. I built a couple of DIY spots here. Hopefully they're still here. I'm gonna dive a little more into this topic because I do think there are some disadvantages and some bad things about being a sponsored skateboarder. So before I get into what I think are the negative of being a sponsored skateboarder, I will say one of the best things about being a sponsored skateboarder is going on road trips with teams and like traveling places. That is one of the coolest things about skateboarding in general. You can still do that without being sponsored, but it's a big benefit upside of getting free product and then eventually getting paid. But what I'm talking about in this video is just kind of the more traditional way of skateboarding and getting sponsored. Just for reference, that is what I'm referring to. And going on road trips is so amazing. Like getting on a team that you always wanted to get sponsored by, like a company you always wanted to get sponsored by, and going on a trip with that team is amazing. That's like such an amazing feeling and epic journey, and something you will cherish for your entire life. But I will say, and just hear me out, there are caveats to that. One could be immediately when you're sponsored, a lot of times you do have to go and skate with the team, which doesn't sound like a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Sometimes that could be hard though if you have a good skate crew that you always like skating with, or if you don't like skating with people alone, or if you have to, you know, kind of decide in between skating with your friends or go skating with the team. Obviously you have to decide, and you have to pick the team because you're not obligated to the team because you're sponsored by them. I'm gonna go more into these type of things, but I just think some of these are things that you don't really think about unless you've experienced them or seen them firsthand. For example, it could be that when you're a sponsored skater, like I was saying earlier, free product comes with expectations. So when you get free product as a standard, like say you're Flow and you're just getting some decks, and that's kind of what I'm referring to for the most part, not just Flow, but like sponsored, not really a paid skateboarder, but like sponsored by free product, which a lot of times puts you in this position where like brands think that you can pay your rent with free product as you get older. But we are talking about even when you are younger, or any stage really. Like say you go out, you want to film, you want to get some clips for yourself. Normally most of the time you have deliverables because you're getting free product. And what I'm trying to say, like for a hypothetical purpose, for example, is like say you have a sponsor and you want to make a YouTube channel and you want to talk all about like your skating, you want to film everything, you want to put it up and just do that. Your sponsor might not allow that because that footage might be going to something else. And not only that, some sponsors just simply don't want skaters on YouTube. They don't want you starting your own platform, your own channel. So the point that I'm giving out with that is it can hinder your ability to really grow and reach even further and a broader audience at times. So sponsorship at the end of the day isn't a marketing tool. You are a tool for a company. You are a vessel to sell a product. And sometimes that can hold you back from just doing what it is that you truly love, even though you're getting free product to do it. Another thing that could suck about being a sponsored skater, or sometimes sucks, is that you might not get along with everyone on the team. And regardless, some teams that just have toxic relationships going on. I don't know how else to say it, but basically you have to get along with everyone, which makes sense. I mean, you don't want a team of people that don't get along, but the point that I'm getting at is just because one person may not like you, they can quickly team up with everyone else to agree that they don't like you as well. So that kind of stuff can be lame, and you could be, you know, on a team or be sponsored and then go on a trip and there's one person that doesn't like you and then you're exiled, you're cut. You know, there's obviously exceptions to that. Sometimes people deserve it, don't get me wrong. There's certain people that just don't get along with the team. There's not much like team bonding, and that just doesn't work out. But the point that I'm getting at is that, yeah, that relationship with teams can be pretty toxic at times. The other thing about being on a team, which is, I'm not here to just like point out all the bad, but I guess I am just kind of pointing out the bad, because there's so many good things and it's glorified. And a lot of times I feel like there needs to be some perspective, and maybe that's all I'm trying to do is just talk about something I feel like isn't talked about very often. But you have to identify with the team and a brand as well. So normally what that means is you have to wear the other clothes that the other team members ride, or for example, FA, they got Supreme, or whatever company. Like if you're on Baker, you ride for Independent, whatever. The point that I'm getting at is that you have to kind of adapt and mold yourself to be a part of the identity of the team and the brand, where really the brand is taking advantage of you. You, again, are the vessel. You're the ship that is selling their stuff. So, I don't know, sometimes that can be a toxic situation. The point that I'm getting at is sometimes you can't really be your true self and ride the boards or the brands or look the way you want if you want to be sponsored by the company that you so admire to be sponsored by. And if you are sponsored, or if you're Flow in the beginning of sponsor, a lot of times you're getting the boards, they're sort of leftovers, things like that. So that could be kind of bad. Sometimes you end up riding a product that works to your disadvantage, and that's not like super often, but it does happen. Being sponsored can be really cool and be really healthy depending on the brand. I think that's what it all depends on, and the communication, the team manager, the team. I mean, so many different things. Like there's certain teams out there where like you have to conform to that certain look. Like I touched on identity. I mean, there's so much more I can go into in details in these videos. I kind of just want to give some insights to maybe perspective not everybody always realizes, because it sounds very cool being sponsored, but you're also essentially now having a job. And like anybody knows, when you do something you love and it becomes your job, it is still a job at the end of the day. And if you love skateboarding so much, that can be sort of a toxic relationship. It can be really hard to balance at times. There was times definitely when I was team manager, I had to be very honest with certain riders and say, hey, we can't pay you anymore. Like, we don't have the budget. I didn't have the budget. I had to be honest with them. They had to find other sponsors. And that was cool in my position, but that's not always the case. Sometimes people just hang on to a rider, hang on to a certain talent because they're benefiting the company, but in the real long run, you know, you're again just a vessel. So hopefully these little background insights can add some context to the title of this video, and you don't just think that I'm hating on sponsored skating, because being sponsored for something you love is really cool, but sometimes there is another perspective to have. It comes with a lot of responsibility and sometimes expectations, which can deter you from skateboarding altogether. Remember to eat. It is really important to eat. It's been one of those days where I totally forgot to eat lunch, and now I am just exhausted, deteriorated. My body is just not feeling it. We're at the last spot. Maybe get a couple more rides or something like that, but hope you guys enjoy this video. Leave your comments down below. As always, I'm kind of curious on your thoughts on this topic. Always want to give people's feedback and kind of just have a conversation. That is the point of this video, not to like poke or pierce or make skateboarding real look bad. That's not what this is. It is just having a conversation that I feel like isn't talked about enough. So make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.